Welcome to the Black Alaska Health and Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Aman Ambise.
And I'm your co-host, Elizabeth Honan.
Hello, Elizabeth.
Hi.
Recently, we just had an interview with Dr. Marvin Johnson on the topic of identity and many other things. It was a wonderful conversation. I certainly learned a lot. I wonder how did you take that, Elizabeth?
Yeah, it was a great conversation. He was fascinating.
Yeah.
He's done so much in his life, and we just kept uncovering layers and finding more things we wanted to talk about that superseded identity, even though we did bring it back to that a few times. But yeah, it was amazing. He has such a wealth of experience and has done so many different things and held so many different identities. It was a great conversation.
Yeah, and certainly I learned, I came out, from that conversation having thought differently about identity and my own identity as a Black man and a range of other areas, I think, multiple identities that we bring and how those shape our daily experiences and our health and well-being.
Yeah. I was surprised how much it felt like you two had a lot in common with your upbringing, even though you're from Tanzania and he's from South Carolina. And that was really cool to kind of see those overlapping identities, I guess, in education and
it was fascinating.
Even upbringing, I think.
Yeah, and I think just pleasant conversations to see how there could be some similarities, at least in terms of our connections to our parents and the influence that our parents had.
Yeah.
Him coming from South Carolina, I'm coming from Tanzania. Very different upbringings, but there are a lot of areas of commonality.
Yes.
Most certainly, though, I have not been close to the Queen of England.
Yeah, no, I haven't either. I do share her name, which
There you go.
I feel, great honor for. And love of horses.
Yeah, and the love of horses, indeed. It was just so much more that I learned about Marvin. And even though I had known him as a colleague, there was so much more that I discovered in that interview. And what it did was to really give us some ideas for areas that we might continue, talking with him, because he's got so much breadth in terms of topics that we consider of interest here.
Yeah. No, we definitely have to have him back probably multiple times.
Indeed. Okay, well, why don't we go right into it?
Yeah, enjoy.
Okay. But yeah, we have a guest today, Elizabeth, and so how should we start this? We start by maybe asking our guests to introduce themselves?
Yes.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about identity, I think, what are all the identities you've had, Marvin?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for inviting me to the podcast.
Yeah.
So my name is Marvin Johnson, and I'll say several identities I've had is been a factory worker, been in the military, of course, in education, also secondary and higher education, as well as nonprofits and entrepreneurship as well. So quite a bit of different identities.
Yeah. Great. And I've had the pleasure of having you as a colleague too,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
At UAA during your stint in higher ed, right?
Correct.
Among your many identities, right?
Right, yes.
So that's kind of our common intersection there,
Yes.
right? In terms of an identity. And we're really excited to have you on this show.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm excited too. To be here. Thank you.
Yeah. Good. And I know that you already know, we know each other, and Elizabeth,
Yes.
my wonderful co-host and a social worker, right?
I mean, student, but yes,
So,
in my heart.
Awesome.
And also a student.
Yes.
awesome. And so tell us a little bit about your Alaska story, Marvin.
Okay. So actually, it was kind of funny how I got to Alaska because I was in Texas before coming to Alaska, and I was actually looking for just a new opportunity, new adventure. So I saw this job description for a teacher in St. Mary's, Alaska, in rural, and like the salary was looking really good. They were going to pay all my health care. They were going to subsidize housing. It's like, man, I can't lose. This is great.
Yeah.
And so when I totaled it all up, just like from a compensation standpoint, it was probably about $140,000 altogether. And I was like, a school teacher making this? So anyway, there was a easy apply button for that job. And I told my girlfriend at the time, I said like, hey, should I push this button? And she was like, you don't really want the smoke of going to Alaska because she's originally from here. So anyway, I pressed it. Within 10 minutes, the recruiter called me.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so like, we'd like to interview you tomorrow. Are you available? I was like, yes. Okay. So I wait on the interview for tomorrow, and I interview with the recruiter. And so it went well. The recruiter said like, well, I'm going to reach out to the school and we'll set up an interview if they want to. Before the next day, the superintendent calls me and says like, hey, can you interview tomorrow? I said, yes. So we went, okay. So long story short, we start doing the interview, and she's not even really listening to me. She said like, how soon can you sign a contract? And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Do I get a day to think about it? And she's like, okay, yeah, fine. So anyway, that's how I got up here. Yeah. So going to St. Mary's was definitely very eye-opening, living in a remote place. And like all my students were Alaska Native. And so, but it really helped me to kind of make some parallels to teaching down in Texas. I taught in the low-income areas in Texas. And so not necessarily saying it was low income, but there was a lot of similarities. And even amongst the young males, they kind of like kept their head down. They weren't really motivated and all that stuff. So that's what I was able to do, is like sort of turn that around. So it was a good experience here. So that's how I got to Alaska.
All right. Yeah.
Wow.
Opportunity. What year was that?
2022.
Oh.
Yeah. Right at the end of 2022.
Yeah. Like 4 years ago.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Excellent. So 2022.
Yeah.
COVID happened when you were in.
Yeah. So we were still in the middle of COVID. So definitely had to kind of manage that. The good thing is that we were on kind of, I would say on the downside, where we were starting to like kind of had the system set up. And so we were able to kind of, I think, go about another semester, and we didn't have to wear masks and stuff like that again. So at that point.
Yeah. Great.
How many students were?
Yeah, so like what also attracted me to that position was that so I ended up having like 81 students in total, but that was including 7th grade to 12th grade. And so I was the math teacher. So I have 7th grade, and then next class is 8th grade, and then on up. So I got to change all the different courses. And so that was kind of exciting to me. Like the long-term plan was the fact is that like I would love to have like started like a class in the 7th grade and prepare them for each grade level. So I think that that's one of the things that I, look at as an education, is that like that continuity going to the next grade, and like the teachers should be really talking to make sure like, okay, you need to prepare them. They need to know these things to go to this class and so on, stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
You mean that doesn't happen?
It does not.
Wow. Okay.
I wish it would.
Yeah. And you're a math teacher. I know.
Yeah,
you're
certified.
Background in engineering. So tell us a bit about that.
Okay, yeah. So, my background from undergrad and master's standpoint was I got my bachelor's and master's in chemical engineering. And so when I started working in industry, teaching was always still kind of calling me. So I would I became an adjunct So after work, I would go teach. I started teaching at the University of Cincinnati in the math department, and so I kind of continued to do that. And when I got to basically, quote unquote, the end of my corporate career, meaning, and I transitioned fully into education, I decided to, you know what, I've always wanted to be a high school math teacher. So then I went back and got my certification in math. So, and a lot of folks were really questioning, like, what were you doing? You know, you're like, because like a lot of the students would say, like, you were working at these companies and like, why did you come teach? And so I said, because it's something that like, it was something that I was very passionate about, and I've always been passionate about education. So that's how I became a math teacher.
Oh, that's excellent. Excellent. I mean, and you have a military background. Like, tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah. So, so from the military, so like, not only do you volunteer to, well, at least these days, you volunteer to go into the military. So I volunteered to go into the Army, but then like the job that I chose, you had to volunteer again. So I chose explosive ordnance disposal, bomb squad for short.
Okay.
And there were some things that I learned in that job that like I wasn't aware that were a part of it, which was really, really stretched the things that I thought about. And so I got to work with the Secret Service. And so I was able to meet presidential candidates, and like the biggest highlight was that I got to meet the Queen of England.
All right.
And so she visited her. She had horses in Lexington, Kentucky, and so I went to the stables and all that, and so she was looking at her horses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I also kind of learned like the economics of breeding horses.
Oh my!
It's like so expensive.
It's so intense.
Yeah, and that's like I was like really this like in just a really maybe 30 seconds, the breeding transactions happen, and that could be upwards of 750,000 to over 1 million.
Yeah.
And some are private, so it's like even I don't know what millions it is, but yeah. So I learned that, and so that was a very kind of eye-opening experience. And so like when we would go to different like campaigns, we would have to search not only the like sometimes the people's bags when they came in, but we also have to do meeting with the Secret Service each morning, and we would have every step that the candidate would go down, especially if they were like a presidential candidate. And I mean, we would walk the whole thing, like driving down the street, when they go into the building, we have to do all of the route and make sure that there were no devices or anything like that.
Wow, this is something I didn't know. I mean, the audience should know that this is all classified. We're getting into the classified territory.
Right, yeah. Okay, yeah, it's classified, yeah. So I was given a briefing when I exited the service because I did have to have a top secret background investigation. So I did have that clearance.
Okay, so we're good.
Yeah. You're good to go because and getting that clearance was really kind of like the first interesting thing that happened was like, because I was coming out of high school and a lot of my friends would start calling me. It's like, the FBI came to my house today. So, are you in trouble or whatever? So, yeah. So when they say background investigation, they mean background. They go to every single person. I mean, like, yeah.
Wow.
So,
wow. We didn't know that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
In all of this, did you feel like you identified with any of your particular, because I know a lot of people, especially men, it's not universal, but that they identify with their field of work. I am and there's a deep connection. But since you've gone all over and your passion for education, I'm curious how you identified within those things of what you were and how you thought
Okay.
about that.
Okay.
Mm.
That's a good question. So, like, what happened? Like I said, when I came out of pretty large family, very close to where I think it was 7 of us. Right, so I had 4 sisters and 2 brothers, and there wasn't a lot of resources going around. So that is kind of like how I ended up going to the military because like my sister went to college first, and like I look back on it, I didn't really understand like college and what it was and stuff like that. But fast forward, when I was even going into the military, the one thing that like kind of like really pushed education was my parents.
Mm.
So my parents were basically, well, they came up in a rural farming kind of community, and then they moved to where we were at in Greenville, South Carolina, where it was like a metro. So they were able to work at the factories, but they always pushed education.
Mm.
And so my mom, she had probably less than a 4th grade education, but like she was really on top of us about education.
Mm.
So that, I think that's where the identification for education really came in. And then my dad would always say the saying, he would say, it's better to push a pencil than to push a broom.
Mm.
And so he would say, like, get your lesson. And that's what he would always call it, like, get your lesson. And so, and then he was like, and as I was looking back on some of these things, he would say, like, hey, he said, I got my high school diploma, but he said, I didn't really learn anything because we were doing agriculture. So,
Yeah.
and so, but like, to me, that kind of like push, and then like, I was the first out of my family to actually get a college degree. And like, it's actually one of my favorite pictures. It's like my mom and my dad are standing on my side, and then, the fake diploma that they give you, my dad is holding the fake diploma, and my mom is like going at him like, when she looks at the picture, she said like, you think you got that diploma and stuff like that. So like, it's like they were kind of going at each other. But like, I was just like, I was more proud the fact of that they were happy, because of all the hard work that they did. So that's kind of like what, even with all the things I've done, education always just kept calling me back. And then when I get into a classroom setting, I had finally got to the point where I could really, really just like support what other people would say. They say like, you're really good at that. You're really, and like I can say it myself. And I said like, I'm at home. I enjoy it, and I like the thing that I love about education and teaching the most is that like when you turn that student's light bulb on, and that light bulb comes on, and they get it. That means that you've done your work to kind of get them there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I identify with that.
Yeah. So education is a big identity.
Yes.
And a lot of that, it sounds like, kind of built early, right? And maybe a big part of that with your parents, right? Your mother, kind of helping you to sort of shape, right?
Yeah.
And I reflect back on my own sort of experience as well. It's sort of how I wanted to identify with education because of my dad.
Okay.
My father was the model, right? He was the first in his family to go to school, the first to go beyond 7th grade. In my home country, it used to be like 7th grade. And so that power of having somebody, a mentor or a parent, sort of steer you, even where they didn't really have that education, like as in your case of your mother, right?
Yeah.
That was true for my mom as well.
Okay.
She couldn't pursue education because of all the, kids that she had to raise, from the age of 17. So her identity as a mother started early, right?
Yeah.
But she saw the importance of the identity of education, supporting her kids to get the thing that she didn't have the opportunity to have, right? is really, really important. I want to go back to sort of what you shared about your coming to Alaska and sort of working with Alaska Native communities. How did your upbringing and your identity as a Black man from the South, how did that kind of shape the person that you were as you were maybe teaching in rural Alaska and so on?
Okay. I think I could see so many parallels to how, just living in the village and how some of the students, their thinking and how they kind of went about their lives. So which I was I was really surprised when I got to the village in 2022 that like they were still, some folks are using wood stoves. And I spent time, considerable summers with my grandmother that lived in a rural area with no plumbing, wood stoves, just all of that kind of stuff. I felt like it was normal then, but like a lot of people were like, "Oh my God!" Like, we didn't have a toilet. So I was somewhat surprised though in the village that like, especially in 2022, that like there are some folks that didn't have plumbing, they didn't have, they had some very similar things to like at my grandmother's experience. Mm-hmm. So I was able to relate to them on that standpoint. The other point is that like kind of like the community part where, you got the elders and then like you got the young people coming up and like the elders want something, the youth want something, the parents in the middle want something. And so it's kind of like trying to figure out like who to serve, who gets what. And then like I think what really, really kind of like as a Black man, then even growing up as a Black boy, I was able to connect a lot with the Alaska Native youth because just the lack of motivation, because like we were kind of taught not to be, well, I'm not saying not taught, but like we were kind of forced to like not be smart, because you couldn't hang out with these guys over here because they're like, oh, you're smart, you're a nerd, you're this and that. And so then you feel bad and you're like, you're trying to operate with them. So that was kind of like a connection that I made. And then if I can go back to when I was in high school, I was trying to do the same thing. And I was luckily I had a white female physical science teacher who later became my physics teacher as well. And in the 9th grade, she stopped me and said, like, you know what? That's not you. That is not you. And like right then and there, it's like, I don't know what it is, but I was on the right path.
Yeah.
And I wish she would have got me sooner. I would definitely appreciate what she did, but because like what happened was like along that path of that journey, I started like, doing better in classes and all those kind of things. And so a lot of my friends eventually got into the National Honor Society. Because I had made mistakes in the 9th grade, I missed about like, I think 0.1 or something like that.
Man.
So I couldn't be in the National Honor Society. So, but the consolation prize was, and this is like, kind of blows some people away, but like back in my high school days, you could drive the school bus. So I was a school bus driver.
Wow.
So
that's another identity we didn't know that.
They were really desperate.
No, actually, we had a better safety record than like adults. But yeah, so yeah, we had to go through a lot of some training and stuff. But the thing about that was that like I was able to drive the we call it an activity bus. So I was taking the National Honor Society over to a field trip to one of the universities and stuff like that. So, and a lot of them were my friends anyway, so they kind of included me in that. So that was a little bit, but like I could have been with them. But
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. So anyway, that's kind of like how,
Mm.
as far as like seeing those connections. And so one of the things that I did when I was teaching is that like I looked at like how could I get them to, to be more motivated, to help them sort through kind of like the decisions that they're trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I think I made some progress with that. That's like I say, like eventually, one of the things that like I felt like was a good bridge was like just creating more STEM activities.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So in the summer school, kind of like helped that because like the summer school in the village, because like they were their own district. So basically, summer school was like make it fun, make it
Mm.
engaging, and so I like, built like rockets and cars and different things like that.
Mhm.
And what I found out was that those kids, they were having so much fun. They were like, oh my God, we should have been doing this, like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And so then that's what got them motivated and excited. So then the next semester I had like a lot better participation from them because now they could see kind of like how the connection could be
Right.
made,
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that's kind of like how
Mm.
I.
Yeah.
How much do you think where there's kind of that identity piece given to people early on of all classes and stripes of, you get kids who are like, you're so smart from the very beginning and
Mhm.
you're going to go places and you can do whatever you want. And maybe all kids get that at home, but
Yeah.
they're not seeing the implicit message from the outside is that you're not smart or you're
Yeah.
lazy or you're worth nothing or you're not going to go anywhere. There's nothing to do. So you start to
Yeah.
how did you see some of that internalized maybe in your community growing up or also in the
Alaska.
Alaska Native kids?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll use the Alaska Native kids because, like, I think it's actually what you were saying. I think it's actually well, from what I said, it was actually the opposite.
Mm.
So in the village, I can speak for that community. There was a lot of like, you're not smart. You can't do
Mm.
these things, and then like I'm naturally that's one of the things that naturally I'm going to be the positive side. And
Yeah.
sometimes people say I'm an optimist, but like and it's like a lot of people say like, well, the whole house could be on fire, but you'll say like, well, we can just put it out and then we can do this or something like that. But
Right.
but basically that's kind of like I know that goes a long way when you talk
Mhm.
about identity is like getting people to believe in themselves.
Yeah.
Like I've been fortunate over different spaces and stuff where a student or let's just use a student would come up and say like, you know what? They say one or two things. So the first one is, you make me think that I can do anything. You make me feel like I can do
Mm.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the other one is that like you know that I didn't feel like that I was able to do that, but like you supported me and getting me here. You got me to this place where
Yeah.
now I believe and stuff like that. So that's kind of like the thing that I look at, and especially looking at it overall when I came to other programs. So like when I came to UAA
Mhm.
for ANSEP, which is Alaska Native Science and Engineering program, basically I looked around and I didn't see a very many natives.
Mm.
Mm.
And um, but I knew why, at least to
Mm.
some degree,
Right.
Uh-huh.
because they're not being told, they're not
Right.
being saying like, "Hey, you can do this. You're just as smart as anybody else." And like,
Mhm.
and that's what I would tell them. And so I'll kind of close that out where I would say like, when I got to graduate school, And I'm like, okay, I'm in graduate school. I'm smart. I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like trying to do things on my own by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And like we were talking about masters in chemical engineering. And like when I turned in my first homework assignment, I turned in like 2 pages. And then like my colleagues, they turned in like 20 pages
Oh, wow.
for the same problem.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. and what was really funny because like one of my professors that was doing, it's called mass transfer. And he went and graded my paper. Of course, it was a lot of red on it, but he's like, he wrote at the end, this is a mess. So then that told me, and this is something that I tell students at all levels, is that like, do not do your education by yourself, you know?
Mm.
Right.
So, and that's like, of course, the saying of 2 heads are better than one is really makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And also you understand that like, not only do you get like the education, you also get other cultural pieces too.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because I had friends from Pakistan, India, everywhere. And like
Mm-hmm.
I would go over to their house and we would eat and they would like, here's your bowl. There's no utensil. You use your hands. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So, and then I had really one of my best friends was a Turkish guy. And so he was married and like went over to have tea, coffee or tea. Yeah, tea. And his wife comes out, she gives us the tea and then she disappears. And it's like, that's just the custom, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, so like, you know, kind of like stemming from that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. For me growing up, I was homeschooled. And on top of that, I had a chronic illness that gave me like an early expiration date.
Okay.
And not that that was like talked about or anything, but you just sort of like know it, you know?
Yeah.
And I wasn't necessarily super sick as a kid or anything. I was sicker in high school. But so for me, like, and I really struggled in homeschooling. I don't think it was quite the right environment for me. And I just had a really hard time teaching myself. And my mom also, you know, taught me and there were other people around at different times and stuff. But overall, the majority of it is you reading the material and you absorbing all of the lesson and then spitting it back out onto the page, you know, in whatever form. My mom was like amazing at trying to make it engaging, or, you know, I was really into horses, so she'd make all the math problems about horses, you know.
That's great.
But I really, really struggled. And then my sister, who's 5 years younger than me, like school was built for her. Like she's one of those people, she can read it, she can spit it back out. She was amazing.
Okay.
And I'm just looking at her and going like, well, I must be just dumb because like, I can't, like I knew I wasn't, but I really struggled with that. And then on top of that, to have kind of like this weird, like one of my uncles was like the first one to be like, oh no, you're going to go to college. Because I was like, I don't think I'll go to college. And he was like, you will go to college.
Yeah.
And I thought, it was like the first time somebody had been like, just looking at me as a person who's going to go to college, not as somebody who had CF and was going to like, you know, maybe you should just enjoy your life while you have it or something like that, you know? And so there was this like very different dynamic and relationship with me and education and my own sense of my ability. And two, I was so burnt out by the school process. By the time I got my GED, I was like, oh, there's no way I'm going into school at this point. Like, what can I do that is not that? I did take some classes. Like, I took a couple, like an English class, and I tried pre-algebra again, and I was just like, I did not get this. It was finally like when I was in my 20s, when we lived in Austin, I finally went back to community college and took pre-algebra, and I finally got it and I passed it. And
Excellent.
I was so proud of myself. But a very different sense of education and what I could do, what I can do. And so coming back now and going like, I've always wanted to go to school. I've always wanted to be very academic. I've wanted to like I've tried writing, books before, and I wasn't going to write a novel. I wasn't going to write poetry. I was wanted it to be a smart book, and really having to wrestle with what was coming out just in my life and on the page, and everything that I wrote that I thought was smart was so boring. Like it was dead on the page. Like as an artist, it's just dead on the page. Like it's not what you're supposed to be writing. And so for me, discovering kind of like identity has always been sort of like this weird, like, well, I'm Elizabeth and this is my family and I'm an oldest and I like this and I like that. And kind of these like, where you're trying to just, it's like walking through a room in the dark and you're just like touching something and you're like, okay, this is a wall. I have a wall and I have so you're just kind of like these touchstones of kind of building this identity. And then on top of that, having this other like chronic illness like laying over me, where do I identify with that? How am I like what's the pie percentage of of that? And if I do identify with it, what does that mean? Right. And so it's been a very like evolving kind of thing where some of the questions that I've come to is like, do you feel that what do you feel an identity is and what is it good for? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a big one.
So if you could answer that. I mean, what do you think about it?
I think this sense of multiple identities and how we sort of evolve through life and how those identities sort of change. And at some time in our lives, we have our finger on one thing, right? This is what we want to be. There's something that I wanted to be. And what I am right now, it's very different. I'm a professor. I'm a father. I'm a brother, right? I'm a man, a black man, and all those are things that I carry with me throughout. And at different points, they have different levels of significance, right?
Sure.
Right now, you ask me, I identify primarily with my professional role as a professor. There's the work that I do, doing research, I teach, I service to the university. I identify quite strongly with those roles, right? These professional roles that we define ourselves with. And then, of course, there's a primary one, right? As a parent, father to four, right? That tends to be crowding out a lot of the other identities lately, right? So I think it's something that has evolved a lot. But I think that all these sort of, if we can identify maybe a primary identity, growing up, when I think about I'm a member of a tribe, so that's a big one. And there's the nationality, right? I belong to a certain national level group, and so that's also significant. But I think these identities of a tribe, me belonging to a tribe, has been really big. Being a father, right? Yeah. So maybe if we were to classify them in terms of primary and secondary, it'll be interesting. But I think I also want to go back to what you were earlier talking about, the influence of parents, right? There's what your teacher told you what you're not. Right? I'm like, you're not that.
Right.
I want to remember that.
I
don't know what she meant, right? But I've also been told, Amana, you're this by my father, right? So there's me trying to go with what my dad told me, like, Amana, you can be this. you can be whatever you want.
Yes.
You're good in school. You can
Yes.
be good.
Yeah.
I didn't see myself as good in school.
Yeah.
My father saw that in me.
Yeah.
And so he wanted to encourage me along that path. And I remember actually when I graduated from my undergrad, I had written a grant application to UNICEF. That's the United Nations. Yeah. And we got it. And so when I was driving to the UNICEF office in Dar es Salaam to finally sign this grant, this agreement, I called my dad. And I'm like, Dad, I'm so proud today that, I actually wrote a grant application and that went through.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right?
Yeah.
Thank you for the trust, the encouragement, and you taking me to school.
Yes.
But he was like, well, you should be thankful to yourself.
Okay.
Because you took the opportunity to become
Yeah.
that, right? So there's that me trying to become what my father said I could be. And then I'm trying to think about your teacher saying,
Yeah.
no, you're not that, Marvin.
Yeah.
You are this.
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah,
Like what was going on there?
Yeah, I think, so what she explicitly meant is like, you're not in the group of cutting up and just avoiding learning, avoiding the, just, I don't know, the accountability that you need to become better and become better educated. One of the things she's always told us, it was probably from some scientists, but she said, like, chance always comes to the prepared mind. And so that was like, one, you're not going to be able to take advantage of these other things if you don't prepare for one. But like when the best way I could say is that like when she was saying like you're not that, is that she realizes that like a lot of times, and then when I look back on it as an educator, it's like students avoid doing the work or doing the study. And so, and then like what you can definitely find out, especially teaching at the secondary level, is that like either students are going to do avoidance or they're going to get angry, they're going to get upset because they don't want to be in that place because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I always tell my students is that like, in order for you to grow, you're gonna have to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off.
No.
Do you think that there's kind of a desire for belonging underneath that of like, well, my nephew was telling his younger brother one time on our way back from school, I picked him up from school, and my he was like 8 at the time, 7 or 8. He goes, now, you can either be smart, you can either be intelligent or cool.
Yeah. That is fantastic. That's fantastic.
Wow, still?
Yeah.
But he and he's not wrong, that there is a sense of, and for him, it's all about finding friends.
Yeah.
And I think that's, when you stick your head up in school and like, you're labeled the teacher's pet or you're, or you're a nerd or whatever.
Yes.
And so suddenly now you're not part of the cool, quote unquote, cool group. And I'm wondering, like, underneath the feeling of uncomfortable is also maybe some sense of like wanting to belong and trying to figure out which group they want to belong to.
Yeah. No, I think you hit it right on the head. That was exactly it, because it's kind of like best, as an African-American young boy or whatever, basically you can't be with the cool group if you actually study. You're actually trying to learn and stuff like that. So, and you really get ostracized. So it's really a big thing. It's like, and so I think that's what she was kind of observing is that like, you know what, like, I know that you're smarter than like what you're trying to pretend to be.
Right.
And so then I'll go a step further, kind of like you kind of reminded me of like, like my mom this is something that I realized that happened throughout our family, is that like she didn't say like you can be this or that. She said you are that. So, and I'll tell you how that played out. So when I moved to, well, basically I'll give a couple quick ones. When I took my SAT, and I got back in the day, they used to mail you the ticket to the test.
Okay.
And it said Princeton, New Jersey. So when she went to work at the mill, my son is going to Princeton. I was like, that's just the ticket. But you can't argue with your mom, just let her go. So, but that repeated so many times. So like when I moved to, when I was on the bomb squad and I said like, yeah, I'm going on the campaigns, he's working with the president. You know, it's like so I don't seriously. She
Endocrine.
Yeah, exactly. So then when I moved I was working at Procter & Gamble, I moved to Coca-Cola, and I had got a promotion by moving. So like the 3 levels of engineers, engineer, senior engineer, and principal engineer. So I was principal engineer, but to her friends and to the people around her, I was the CEO of Coca-Cola.
Like,
so, and it's like that type of, it was kind of like, I kind of framed it as positive peer pressure per se. But it's like, it could be a little nerve-wracking, but it was kind of like, anytime we did something, it was like, she already put us there.
Yeah.
It wasn't about like, okay, like even when I went into the Army, it's like, you know, I'm like trying to qualify with my rifle, and like, you know, the drill sergeants are screaming at us and saying like, oh, if you don't get all these targets, you're going to have to start over. You got to go back. And like, nobody wants to start over. And so I'm like getting my breathing right and stuff like that, because like, I cannot start over. How can I tell my mom? Because like she's already saying like, basically he's in there, even though he's doing training. I'm like somewhere down the road. So that was one of the things that.
Yeah. And that can be really motivating. I can see like you are that.
Yeah.
You're not a whatever level engineer, you are the CEO, right? So see yourself, right? Speak it into being, right?
It was like, and what was really made that even more like, kind of like, I don't know, uncomfortable for me at sometimes. Not too much, but like, I was actually at that time, there's another new thing. So I did write a couple books. So I wrote a book at that time, and
didn't know all this stuff.
I found one of them on Amazon.
Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember what it's called.
So then I was gonna do some book tours and stuff like that. I was just trying to try it out, and so I took some professional photos, and then with the photos, they sent me this like really huge 11 by something photo, really nice photo. My mom took this photo. She's going like, he's the CEO. Look at his photo. I mean, she took it to work and like everywhere. And like when I would come home, just like, you know, somebody come over like, yeah, there's him right there. And it's like, so anyway, it was definitely positive motivation. And,
did your siblings respond the same way? Did they?
Yes. Because like, and then like kind of like as a tribe per se, like, well, our elementary school when we first started out, like, because we were kind of like stair steps almost. So like my sister, so like, and then like she goes to the next grade, then the teacher's like, oh, you're her brother, and then like so on and so on, and so there was an expectation that like, we're like, okay, they're the smart family or whatever, but like everybody had to like I already know you're gonna behave, I know you're gonna do this, I know you're so. And I think that could have been part of the going back to the teacher about saying that is that like she had my brother,
right?
So like, you know, this is what we expect out of you guys.
This family.
Yeah. So,
a lot of pressure.
Yeah, but it was like, I kind of looked at it and I was like, it was kind of positive, but it was nerve-wracking as well. So
It worked. It worked very well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot, listening to you guys, you both have kind of like this similar,
Mm-hmm.
in some ways very privileged, like expectations from your family. And I mean, my parents are great. And I think there were a lot of positive ways that they incorporated of not treating me with kid gloves or special or, so I didn't create this identity out of like victimhood or anything else that I think I could have for sure. But the journey of looking, comparing myself to my sisters or other people around me, but also going like, I know that I know things and that I'm smart, but I'm not smart in the way that the culture is telling me you have to be smart. Like I don't test well, but but if you could figure out a different kind of test, I think I would pass that one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Got you.
And where I love math, I like the concepts of math, but I struggle to learn it. And I think where it's like giving ourselves kind of expanding the definition of intelligence and smart. I asked my nephew, I said, which one did you pick? Like intelligent or cool? And he said, well, when I was little, I picked intelligent, but now I'm cool.
I'm just cool.
And I was like,
Okay.
So he's
That's
trying to
funny.
figure out how to game the friend system. And, and that's a process too. But also to realize like, dude, that's really smart.
Yeah.
That takes, you can be down on yourself as much as you want. So I've had to learn, and other people have really, affirmed me too. I remember telling my dad one time, I was like, man, my sister's so smart and she's just really good. I can't wait to see what she does in life. And he kind of stopped and he goes, you're really smart too. And I was like, what? Really? Like because
are.
I just thought, and
for sure.
but for people that don't test well or think in the same way or have other people recognizing kind of like the variety and diversity or like, we have a class on like different ways of knowing and just how much pressure there is to put identity onto something that's sort of, like the badge, like, oh, I have this badge now. I work with the president.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
But, coming from disabled, I guess, and I'm not disabled, but kind of that representing a little bit more of that perspective where you realize how much people put identity into a working body or into their ability to do things versus this innate, unmovable thing in themselves that says, but I can overcome, or it's a value system versus a badge. Does that make sense?
Awesome. Yeah.
So I guess that's always what I'm curious about is like, what's the thing, the essence in yourself that I think gives you a sense of like, well, it doesn't matter if, because at some point, I mean, you'll always be a father, obviously, Amana, but your role is going to change. And so maybe if you're identifying too much as being like, I'm the one who makes you food, like you can't sustain that. They need to know how to cook. You know what I mean?
I'm terrible at cooking. But
That's surprising. That's really surprising. With a big family, that's sort of surprising. It is, but everything's not correlated, so yeah.
Oh, don't get me going on this one.
Okay.
In some ways, that's, the beauty of what kind of an alternative path can, I think, give you is like, you have to understand what that sense is of like, when is the right time to do something versus like, oh, I didn't get it, so I must not be that. Or I got my first, non-A or something. And you're like, I'm, where, because I mean, we've all met those people who they run into their first crisis, whatever, maybe we're like, that's your crisis?
Yeah, for
But they
sure.
run into it and suddenly their whole identity is completely in question. I guess, like, have you had an identity crisis before?
Actually, no. And I mean, I'm thankful for that. But like, I think to what you're saying, I was thinking of a situation when I was in undergrad, and I happened to do a research assistantship with one of the professors one year. So, and to the same point you were talking about, like, so as in engineering, up until like all the general education courses, you know, the calculus and the chemistry and physics. I mean, yeah, they're tough, but like, you know, you're like, oh my gosh, like, you know, I can make less than a B or A or like that. But then when you get to the core classes, and it's like this stuff is just like, where is this stuff coming from? Like, it's like so anyway, long story short, I did the research assistantship with him, and I was thinking about, like, you know, trying to get a job and going to work, and he was like, you should go to graduate school. And I was taking his chemical engineering kinetics, and I was like praying for a C. Like, it was like, oh my God. It's like, and I said, I can't go to graduate school. I'm barely passing your class. And he's like, well, he said, like, you're doing fine. You're doing okay. But like, he said, like, you do research really well. Because I was doing X-ray diffraction, which is just like really every surface has a signature. And so I was like reading those, and we're trying to create new materials to do certain things. And so out of that, you know, me thinking like, to talk to the guy that's making A's in the class or whatever. But anyway, I was like, I took a chance, and then I got a fellowship, and so I got into grad school, and I definitely appreciated, like, you know, him putting that into me, and that's what ever since then I've done that to everybody, and so that's why people really one of the things that I do, like especially going back to even to St. Mary's, is that like I took them from like not having an interest in hardly anything because like everybody's telling them that they can't do this, and they're not smart and all that kind of stuff, and I had a whole bulletin board full of students that wanted to do different things. So one of them, marine biology, mechanical engineering, et cetera, business.
Wow.
And so when their parents came to my open house, their mouths hit the floor. They were like, I didn't know that they wanted to do this. I didn't know that they wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And like I said, like before, I was like, they said, like, how did you do that? First of all, I said, real simple. I just talked to them. And that is so important. It's just like having that communication with them and like, you know, really kind of like, not in a hard way, but like you're combating the fact of like, they're thinking this way so much about them, but you pour into them to kind of move in the other direction. And so, and then to step that up, I created a STEM class for the next semester. And that's where, like I said, like they really, really got involved, and they were moving in a stronger direction. And so then the last thing I'll say on that is that like, so when I left there and came to UAA to be with ANSEP, I happened to go back to Bethel, and there was a basketball game, and like some of my previous students were in the championship game.
Oh, okay.
And so, and I'm talking about like, we're in Bethel, the gym is crowded because like basketball or sports, definitely basketball is a big part of village life.
Yeah.
So I went to the wrong side, right? Because I didn't know where, you know, I was at this high school. Out of all, I mean, not only that I'm Black, but still, there are other Black people up there. They picked me out like there was a GPS satellite. Like, Dr. Johnson. So then I go over there, and then some of my students was like, why don't you please come back and teach us math. I love the way you teach math and stuff like that. And then like one of the seniors that like when I was sitting there, I was leaving, it was early on, I had them in this one state. Mm-hmm. And it was like positive anger, I will say, from him. It was like, you know what, now I understand this stuff and I've been doing this stuff and you're leaving. Mm-hmm. So I definitely felt somewhat bad about that. But I mean, it was hard for me to pass up. Like, Ansett was, as far as identity, was definitely a part of like a dream job, really, because it married engineering and STEM with students and education.
And culture.
Yeah, exactly. So
You had an identity crisis, Amana? I think it's funny that I'm like, you had one? I've had like 50.
50, oh my gosh.
Like every 3 years at least.
Oh my goodness.
Probably have had to, but maybe I'm less reflective on this.
Oh my God. Okay.
I've got that up on you. When you have yours, you can call me.
Okay. Yes.
That's great. No, I don't recall any. Actually, I mean, there are things that I've tried and failed and tried to pursue. If you asked me what I wanted to become when I was in primary school, elementary, it's very different from where things ended up, right?
Right.
I didn't know that I'll be, a social worker.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's something that evolved through work experience and meeting a professor who told me about social work and the work that I was doing. Mm-hmm. He actually pointed out that, Amana, what you're doing is actually social work. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what is social work?
Right, yeah.
And he said, you'll be a great candidate for, social work.
Exactly.
You get a PhD in social work and master. And that was the start of it. So again, it's maybe meeting people along the way, mentors. But my first attempt at going to chemistry ended terribly.
Okay, yeah.
I remember in high school, the grades that I got in chemistry were not good. Like, this is not where I should be.
This is not good.
So that one I knew very well. That there was no crisis there.
Right.
I was like, no, this is not the direction I need to go.
Yeah. You was clear on that. I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... Yeah, but here I am, and I think all those have paths in life make us who we are today, and I think maybe there are more crises along the way, right, to happen.
Yeah. Well, I think too what you said earlier about like don't do education alone, and education is one of those very primary things that helps give us an identity. It gives us a path. It gives us a sense of ability or a sense of failure.
Yeah.
And I think our interactions with people, with cultures, with new things is what gives us actually that identity that we can, if you're not in, if you're in a sterile environment, nothing can actually like grow in you or come out in you or whatever, so
very good.
When you're in an environment with lots of different people and different things, you have more stuff that you can kind of ping off of to see where it is that you're actually like going and what you're being drawn to.
All right, Marvin, where are you getting drawn? What next?
Oh, yeah. So what next is for me is now I'm going to, I'm applying to be going to mental health or clinical mental health counseling.
Yeah.
So I guess unlike some people, I'm pretty sure some people are like what I do, but like as all those experiences that you're talking about, kind of like things start to kind of form and then they kind of fall in your lap. And so, like I said, I'll tell you about one quick experience where I work with the nonprofit Alaska Mental Health Consumer Web here in Anchorage. And basically, it's a drop-in center for the homeless. Mm. So basically, they can come in there and get on the computers, we can help them with the resumes. We also had a housing program to try to get them into housing and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. So one of the things that was happening is that like I actually had a previous staff member at ANSEP. I hired her to because like she had lost her position at ANSEP as well. So I hired her because she wants to be a social worker.
Mm.
And I said, like, I know you're applying to school, you're trying to get into the program, but I said, like, you're going to get like everything right here because you're in it. And that's because like I was even finding myself in it. And so what drew me to this thing going next was like I had hired peer mentors. So peer mentors, they had to probably have been through addiction. They were in recovery. They're still recovery, pretty successful. Some of them been homeless and all that kind of stuff. So that was one part where it could help people to kind of stay on track.
Mm-hmm.
And then like we had Alaska Behavioral Health across the street. And so, but what was happening is that like, because of the way that I've been talking to people all the time and I pour into people and the folks were going through very difficult things. And I was like, hey, I can call someone over at Alaska Behavioral Health and we can, you can go see them. They're like, no, I want to talk to you. And then I like, so since I know the boundaries and I know that like I will stay in my lane because like that's very important because like I don't want to try to pretend like I'm a therapist because I'm not. So, but then as I see like several occasions, folks were just bypassing the real professionals to talk to me.
Yeah.
And I would talk to them, within the boundaries. So I said, like, you know what? I don't know. Maybe it's just telling me that I should take a look at that. And then, and when I was thinking about it, and I talked to everybody I talked to, they're like, "No, you need to do it. You need to do it. You need to do it." And I said, like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a shot. So, and then, like, what leads to the next thing is that, like, and I think I forgot what you said, but like, as far as classifying myself or identifying with one, I identify as a Renaissance man. Somebody gave me that title though.
Okay.
They gave me that title because they're like, you've done all these things.
Right.
You do all these things.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of started growing in me to do that. Like, and what I usually explain to people is like, especially when I'm talking to high school students, and then college students, I say like, okay, you got your high school diploma. Okay, you're thinking this way. When you get your associates or your bachelor's, you're going to think different. Because like usually I tell my bachelor students like, okay, first freshmen, like, hey, Thanksgiving, I want you to go and meet with some of your friends that didn't go to school or whatever they're doing.
Right.
And then like come back and tell me about it.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my God. It's like, I said, because you're different. You don't realize it. And I said, like, and then like when you get your master's, you're different again. When you get your doctorate, you're different again. And so culmination for me is that like, I don't know, for me, when I got my doctorate, it was like, I can just do anything. I can do anything.
Yeah.
So I'm not, and then once I kind of like learned from corporate and they did different places is that like, think more of transferring skills versus like trying to put the job into the next position. And so like, because like, and I'll just say like recently, I got very close to getting a chief financial officer position where I have no degrees in finance at all, but I have worked with grants. I've done budgets in the plants and stuff like that. So yeah,
You have enough overlapping
exactly.
skills and experience.
Exactly. So yeah.
Excellent.
Well, our last question that we're going to be asking everybody is, what are you reading?
What am I reading? So actually, I'm actually reading research on the things that will help emerging adults, 18 to 24, really transition to a life of independence. So that's what I've been. So I've like really started kind of getting back into that, and because I always continually help people with their dissertations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So for research and statistics. And I love it because what it did was when I kind of like moved away from the barrier that I set up for myself from like, okay, I'm just numbers, I'm just engineering, I'm just that like that. But when I took statistics again, like in graduate school, and I was in higher ed and in kind of a social sciences area, right? And then I saw the power of like, okay, quantitative and qualitative information helping people. So that's what's driving me to really help. Because I mean, you hear stories every day about like young adults because of all the influences of social media, technology, and stuff like that. They don't communicate. They don't have the things that we had, right? So, and then they're at these decision points where they really need some guidance. And because like whenever I got students, even at the university, and if I could talk to a parent, I would say like, okay, I know you're dropping them off, but that the umbilical cord is not cut yet.
Right.
That's
They still need you.
That's right.
Like I'm gonna naturally, any professor or teacher, you're already gonna be a parent. You're gonna be a counselor. You're gonna be everything because they're gonna come to you if you have that. You know, but like I do need you as the parent, you know, to still be involved. So, so that's kind of like what I'm reading is to really strengthen that, and I want to write a paper with that and present it. And, so we'll see.
Very cool.
I think that'll be a great topic for another episode.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
Absolutely,
Hey, I enjoyed it. I would love to come back with something like that.
Yeah.
You know, whatever.
Yeah. I could hear a number of topics. I was like, we need to pick up on that one.
We'll just have a Marvin series.
A Marvin series.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay.